Yo, what's up guys, this is my QBD guide. A couple of days ago I released a loot from 1000 QBD video, and in that video I asked you guys if you'd like to see a QBD guide, and a lot of you responded saying that you did actually want to see one, so here it is. First of all, let's start off by looking at what I recommend you to have before you actually attempt the QBD. I recommend you have 90 plus ranged, 90 plus defense, 92 plus prayer, and 85 plus herblore. The range recommendation is there just so you hit quite frequently on the QBD, because if you don't, the kill will end up taking quite a long time. And the defense recommendation is there to prevent you from taking as much damage from the QBD as you can. I recommended 92 prayer because this is the level that you unlock soul split at, and soul split is incredibly useful at the QBD. It just means that you will not have to spend as much time eating food and you can just focus on doing damage. And 85 herblore is for super anti-fires, which are extremely useful here as well. The reason that they're extremely useful here at the QBD is because the QBD does a lot of attacks that have to do with fire, and if you're using a super anti-fire, it will negate a lot of the damage as opposed to a normal anti-fire. So yeah, this is extremely useful and pretty much needed no matter what level you are. Let's take a look at the inventory and gear that you should take. This is my personal setup whenever I go to the QBD. As you can see in the top left, I've got some overloads mixed with some super anti-fires. That's useful because it's basically just 2 potions in one. The 3 other potions that you can see are adrenaline potions, and this just makes the kill a lot faster. I have some super restore potions in there just to restore some prayer points, along with a ring of vigor, and then the rest just filled with rocktail. Also, if you're new to QBD and you have access to a beast of burden, I highly recommend taking one and then just filling it up with rocktail. As for the gear, this is also what I personally take. I only take a slayer helm if I'm doing a slayer task, so just bear that in mind. If you don't have the money for Serenic, I recommend using any of the other armors that I recommended, aka the Anima armor, the Pernix armor, and the Armadillo armor. The Armadillo armor is what I recommend at the bare minimum, especially if you want to get kills effectively and efficiently. As for the amulet, an amulet of souls is extremely useful here if you have soul split, or if you don't have that or soul split, you can use a blood amulet and that will restore some hit points for you. If you have neither of these amulets, just wear the best amulet that you can wear. The same goes for your cape ring and gloves, just wear whatever you can. For your weapon, I recommend using a Noxious longbow, Ascensions, or a Royal crossbow. However, the only reason that you should be wearing Ascensions is if you don't have access to Dragonbane bolts or arrows. If you do have access to Dragonbane bolts or arrows, I highly recommend using either the Noxious longbow or the Royal crossbow. Yes, a Royal crossbow is, I believe, better with Dragonbane bolts than Ascensions is with the normal bolts. So yeah, those bolts are extremely useful, and I'm going to show you how to actually get them now. First of all, you have to have completed the Ritual of the Madrak quest. Once you've completed that quest, go to the fairy ring code DKQ, and that will take you to the Glacier Cave. Once you're there, just run to the place that I'm running to now, and then what you want to do is you want to fill up your inventory with these bane ores. You need 77 mining in order to mine this ore. Once you have around 25 bane ore, you want to be on the Lunar spellbook and set up your inventory like I have here. Just buy 1 dragon bone from the GE like I did. Make sure you have some astral and earth runes in your inventory as well as the bane ore, and then you want to cast the Tune bane ore on the dragon bones. And then once you've done that, use your dragon bane ore on the furnace and make them into dragon bane bars. Please bear in mind that you need 87 magic to use the Tune bane ore spell, and then 77 smithing to smelt them into bars. Once you've done that, go to your fairy ring and scroll all the way to the bottom until you see Kethsi. Click on Kethsi and then it should come up with the combination AKS, and then teleport to that location. If Kethsi is not at the bottom for you for any reason, use the code DIR first and then use AKS. Once you're there, just follow the path that I'm showing you now, and then once you're at the anvil, either smith the arrowheads or the unfinished bolts depending on what you're going to use. And then finally, if you've made arrowheads, just buy some headless arrows from the GE, or if you've made unfinished bolts, just buy some feathers from the GE and then use them on the things that you made, and then you should have ended up with either Dragonbane bolts or Dragonbane arrows. Bear in mind once again, when you're using the anvil, it requires 82 smithing in order to use, and also adding feathers or the headless arrows also requires 80 fletching in order to do. So make sure you have those levels before you start doing this. Also, you can get an assist from your friend if you don't have a required level to do one of the steps. Just make sure that the level is assistable first, and then you should be good to go. Alright, so now that we have the Dragonbane bolts and arrows, let's move on to the actual mechanics of the QBD. The first one are these firewalls, and she'll summon these firewalls in groups of 1, 2 or 3. They increase as the phases go on, and personally for these firewalls, and what I suggest to you is just stand in them and take the damage. There are gaps in them as you can see, but in my opinion it's just a waste of time having to run through the gaps every time, especially if you have soul split and you can get the life points back quite easily, because they only do 750 every time it hits you. That's with a super anti-fire, so these aren't really a threat at all, just a kind of annoying mechanic if you ask me. But yeah, I'll show you guys what spawns in each phase later on. The next mechanic are these tortured souls, and the QBD can spawn these souls with a chaotic cloud that damages you. Now there are a few ways to avoid them, and I'll show you these ways later on in the video, But yeah, mainly you just want to kind of ignore these tortured souls. They don't do that much damage to you, but if you feel like they do, you can always kill them off. They don't have that many life points. It just means that your QBD kill is going to be slower, and you might actually end up taking more damage from the QBD instead because of this, but it's kind of up to you on what you want to do with these. Next thing, QBD can enter these two forms, and these two forms aren't really relevant to us since we are going to be using range. Range is the only style that I recommend using at QBD. Yes, you can do hybriding and take advantage of these forms, but if you're only using one combat style that's ranged, it just makes it so much easier and you don't have to pay as much attention as you do if you are hybriding. But anyway, let's take a look at these forms just in case you do want to try out hybriding. The first one is the Carapace form. The QBD during this form is resistant to melee but vulnerable to magic. And in the Crystal form she is resistant to magic but vulnerable to melee. So as you can see, these two forms do not affect range in any way. That's why I prefer using them with the Dragonbane bolts. It just makes kills a lot easier and faster like I said, but it's up to you on what you do. The next thing that the QBD can do is that she can siphon her summoned souls to regenerate life points. So this is another reason to kill souls. As you can see from the screenshot, the soul is losing 100 HP per tick and the QBD is regenerating 200 HP per tick. So for every 100 HP that the soul loses, the QBD will regenerate 200 HP. And this is not only for a single soul. If the QBD has 3 souls out, then she will regenerate from all of them at the same time. This is a kind of annoying mechanic because if you don't kill the souls, then the QBD is just going to regenerate a bunch of HP. The best thing that I can recommend here is just keep fighting through the QBD, just keep attacking her through her healing, and then in the end it shouldn't really make that much of a difference. It just might make your kill a little bit slower, but yeah, in the end it's kind of a harmless mechanic. Extremely Hot Flames are her second final mechanic. You'll get a little warning before she does this. The warning will say the Queen Black Dragon gathers her strength to breathe extremely hot flames, as you can see from the screenshot, and then she'll do the animation that's showing in the screenshot as well. I don't know why whenever I'm fighting her I can't see any of the hot flames. I guess it just has to do with the graphical settings that I'm on, but if you're playing on high graphical settings I'm sure you'll get to see the hot flames. And these hot flames deal 3 hits of damage, and the damage dealt depends on where you are standing. So if you're standing anywhere near the middle, you'll take up to 5k damage, but if you're standing on the sides, you'll only take up to like 2k damage. So since you can only do this on the final phase, you want to make sure that on that phase you're always standing on the side instead of in the middle. This just makes it so that you don't have to worry about this attack, and you can just focus on her other mechanics. Her final mechanic is Time Stop. Now during this mechanic, she will summon a Tortured Soul, and the way that you can differentiate this Tortured Soul from the other Tortured Souls is that this Tortured Soul will start talking to you. The first thing that it says, as you can see from the screenshot, is "Kill me mortal, quickly, hurry before the spell is complete." A little while later it will say "Time is short." After that it will say "She is pouring her energy into me, hurry." And the final thing that it will say is "The spell is nearly complete." And then shortly after that the spell will complete. So in order to stop the spell from completing, you either need to kill the soul or the QBD. If you do not kill the QBD or the soul before the spell is complete, you will be frozen. And during the time that you're frozen, you won't be able to do anything at all. You won't be able to teleport out, you won't be able to eat, you won't be able to attack, you won't be able to do anything. So you want to make sure that you either kill the QBD before the spell is complete or kill the soul. You do not want to take a chance and just hope that she doesn't kill you whilst you're frozen. So if this guy pops up and you are not close to killing the QBD yet, make sure you kill him and then carry on killing the QBD. So now that you know all the mechanics that the QBD can use against you, it's time to find out which mechanics that she can use on each stage. So in the first phase, she can only use standard attacks and use 1 firewall against you. This is obviously going to be the easiest stage, and the 1 firewall is nothing that you have to worry about. During the second phase, she can use 2 firewalls against you and summon 1 Tortured Soul, as well as use standard attacks. Once again, I'm going to show you how to dodge the Tortured Soul damage later on. For phase 3, she gains a lot of mechanics. In this stage, she can summon 3 firewalls and 2 Tortured Souls, and she can also enter the Carapace and Crystalline form, and this is where she can also siphon souls to heal herself. And on this stage, she can summon up to 3 firewalls, but this time it goes up to 4 Tortured Souls, and I'll tell you how to dodge this later on as well. And she can cast Time Stop and Extreme Dragon Breath on this stage, as well as everything else from the other stages. So yeah, as you can tell, she gains mechanics as you go along the phases. It just gets harder and harder each stage. But in my opinion, don't worry about it. I know it may look like a lot of information and a lot of things that you may need to dodge or just try and remember, but once you get used to it, it's actually really easy. Alright, let's get into the actual killing. If you don't know how to get to the QBD by now, just teleport to either Port Sarim or use your Clan Vexillum to teleport to Falador and then just run south, and then enter the Grotworm lair and go to the very bottom, and this is where the QBD is located. So starting off, you don't want to stand anywhere north of the middle artifact. If you stand anywhere north of that throughout the entire fight, then the QBD is more likely to use her melee attack on you, and this melee attack will hit you harder than her ranged attack, because since you're going to be using range, melee is extremely effective. Phase 1 should be quite straightforward, just stand where I'm standing or stand behind the artifact, and then once the QBD has 0 life points, click on the artifact and then continue to attack the QBD again. Now phase 2 is where she can summon the Tortured Soul, so as I said before, I'm going to show you how to dodge the cloud damage that she spawns along with the soul. It's pretty simple. All that you have to do as soon as she summons the soul, just run a couple of squares behind the soul, and then the cloud should damage the Tortured Soul instead of you. If you've done this correctly, the cloud should disappear like I've shown on screen, and then you can just carry on attacking QBD. Once you've depleted her life points, go to the southwestern artifact and activate that, and then get out of the water as soon as you can. If you stand in this water for an extended amount of time, you'll take up to 1500 damage. So just make sure that you're not standing in the water any longer than necessary. Phase 3 is honestly pretty similar to Phase 2. The only major thing that she can do on this phase is Siphon to heal herself, and obviously, spawn more firewalls and Tortured Souls. On this phase is where I like to activate Death Swiftness, so activate that in the position that I've shown you, start hitting the QBD again, and then once you've depleted her life points, activate the artifact in the southeastern corner. Once again, get out of the water as fast as you can and get back into your Death Swiftness if it's still up, and then continue attacking the QBD, and just bear in mind all of the mechanics that I've shown you. And on this stage, she can summon up to 4 Tortured Souls. All these 4 souls should summon one space diagonally from you. So when they do this, you just want to run diagonally behind one of them, and then the majority of the time that should take care of 3 of the clouds. For the whole of phase 4, I just recommend to keep on as high life points as you possibly can. So this means just keep eating whenever you get hit, because even at like 6,000 life points you still are not safe from the QBD. The QBD can just combo you with like 4 Tortured Souls and then with her Extreme Breath. So yeah, just keep on the highest life points that you can throughout the whole of phase 4. And once you've depleted QBD's life points on phase 4, just run to the southern artifact and activate that. Also bear in mind, in between phases, as her life points is depleted and you are going to activate the artifact, she will start summoning these grot worms. So you want to make sure that you activate all artifacts as soon as possible, otherwise there'll just be a bunch of grot worms attacking you, and you don't really want that, especially if it's one of your first times at the QBD. So yeah, make sure you just watch out for that as well. So guys, that is it. That is the end of the QBD guide. I hope this guide helped you and you now understand all of the QBD's mechanics. If there's any other boss guides or videos that you want me to do, please leave a comment and let me know. And as always, thank you for watching, subscribe if you're new, and peace!